This sci-fi story begins by showing the present moment. We see an agent named Snow, who is being interrogated in a locked room. In front of him sits an officer named Scott, who repeatedly asks, "Why did you kill the colonel inside that room? And what were all those strange people doing there?" But poor Snow simply says he knows nothing. He was only there because someone called him. Now we are shown a flashback from a few hours earlier, where Snow is in his room and suddenly attacked by a man. The man is unknown, and it's unclear why he's trying to kill Snow. Snow tries to defend himself, but the attacker seems stronger. He beats Snow badly again and again. After a long fight, Snow finally grabs a gun. Without hesitation, he shoots the attacker. Then he looks around the room and sees several others lying there. One of them is a colonel who wasn't killed by Snow, but by those unknown people. The colonel is still alive. Snow rushes to help him. The colonel gives him a lighter and says, "Keep it safe." Before dying, he points toward a suitcase. After the colonel dies, Snow picks up the suitcase. The real trouble begins when police forces arrive and launch an attack on Snow. He somehow tricks them and tries to escape, still carrying the briefcase. He grabs a high-tech car and drives away. Then he gets a call from his friend Mace, who tells him to come to the survey station, where he'll be safe. So Snow heads straight there with the police still chasing him. He decides to jump into a train, but the police have already started firing. Mace is sitting in the train ahead, so Snow throws the briefcase into it. Unfortunately, Snow is caught by the officers. That brings us back to the present moment, where Scott is interrogating Snow. "Why did you kill the colonel?" Snow denies it, but Scott shows video footage taken from a helicopter. It clearly shows Snow firing the gun and the colonel dying. Snow insists it wasn't him, but all the evidence is against him. No one can save him now. He might even be sentenced to death. Just then, another investigation officer named Harry arrives. Scott leaves the room so Harry can question Snow alone. Meanwhile, we see Mace, Snow's best friend, who has the briefcase. He quickly locks it inside a subway station locker. But as he's leaving, he bumps into someone. His gun falls and accidentally goes off, hitting a police officer. Hearing the gunshot, everyone panics and runs. Another officer sees Mace and shoots him on the spot. Poor Mace gets caught up in all this for nothing. Back in the interrogation room, Harry keeps pressing Snow. "Who was the backup guy that helped you in the heist?" Snow writes down Mace's name on a piece of paper and gives it to Harry. Harry reads it and understands, but he doesn't want anyone else to know. So he erases Mace's name from the paper. This meant that the investigation was about to go even deeper. But Snow had no idea that an impossible mission awaited him in the near future. Now we're shown a spaceship in space, inside which a VIP named Emily is traveling. With her is her bodyguard Hawk and her secretary Catherine. We later learn that an officer named Bot is also on board the spaceship with a large team for security purposes. Emily is clearly their most important guest. Bot begins explaining his project to Emily, an ultra-high-tech prison located in Earth's orbit. It's the most advanced facility in the world, used to imprison the most dangerous criminals. The entire project is known as MS-1, and in the future they plan to create more such space prisons. Bot also says that the US, Russia, and several other countries have partnered with them. This will drastically reduce crime on Earth, as all dangerous criminals will be imprisoned in these space stations. In fact, the inmates are kept inside sleeping chambers to prevent them from causing any chaos. The entire MS facility operates automatically, with extremely tight security systems that make it impossible for any criminal to escape. Emily is very curious to see the entire project. She soon arrives at the MS base, and even at first glance, the place looks highly advanced. Everything is top-tier quality. But Emily doesn't yet know the kind of danger she's walking into. Back on Earth, we see Snow, who has been arrested. A man tells him that he might be transferred to MS because his crimes are too serious. In the next scene, Snow is transferred to another lab, where scientists are secretly conducting experiments on him. These experiments are top secret and kept from the public. Back in space, Emily and her bodyguards have now reached the MS base. At entry, everyone goes through strict security checks to ensure no weapons are brought inside. Since Hawk is a bodyguard, he keeps a small weapon hidden inside his body. After all the checks are completed, Bot begins explaining everything to Emily. He takes her to the area where all the criminals are kept in sleeping chambers. This saves resources and allows the criminals to survive for extended periods. Emily is fascinated by what she's seeing. Then, surprisingly, Bot decides to take her to speak with one of the criminals, Heidel, who was responsible for several bomb blasts on Earth. He may look small and harmless, but his twisted mind has claimed many lives. Hawk stands nearby for Emily's protection. Emily begins questioning Heidel, but he doesn't take her seriously and refuses to answer. This angers Hawk, and he slams Heidel's head down. But Hawk doesn't realize that Heidel was playing a trick. Silently, Heidel grabs the hidden gun from Hawk's body and suddenly shoots, causing a massive explosion. Everyone in the area is injured. Poor Hawk falls unconscious. Emily instantly realizes the danger and runs for her life. Heidel now has a weapon. He's the most dangerous person there. He kills all the nearby officers and begins chasing Emily. But since he still hasn't found Emily, he begins to leave. Emily, meanwhile, thinks she's safe, but Heidel is playing a twisted game. He suddenly finds and captures her. We then see the rest of the prison center, where almost every criminal is now awake. They begin attacking the officers and trying to take over the facility. Back in the investigation room, Hawk regains consciousness and sees the destruction all around. All the criminals have broken free, and Emily's life is in danger. He immediately sends a distress signal to headquarters on Earth. This signal alerts the military, and they now know something has gone terribly wrong. Hopefully, help will be on the way. The president is shocked and deeply worried. But then, Officer Harry arrives and reveals that they had implanted a health monitoring device in Emily's body, and according to it, she's still alive and physically unharmed. But they had to act fast. So now they need to find a candidate, someone who's a prisoner but also a skilled soldier. Their first and best option, Snow. Lang and the president present the mission offer to Snow. But Snow shows no interest. He doesn't want to die for something he didn't cause. But then, Harry secretly writes on a cup that Snow's friend Mace is also on that space station. Hearing this, Snow immediately agrees to go. Apparently, Mace holds some crucial information. Snow is handed the lighter that the colonel had given him earlier. Now he's fully prepared for his mission. After, Lang and the others reconnect with Snow, who updates them with all the intel. But suddenly, Snow has to hide, because Alex's men enter the chamber, clearly hunting for him. Meanwhile, Alex and his men reach the elevator area. They suspect Emily is hiding in a secure room nearby. Alex calls in 2 engineers to help unlock the room. Elsewhere, Snow reaches a terminal and tracks down Mace's chamber as well as Emily's location. Back to Alex. When the engineers are brought in, he kills one immediately and threatens the other. Open that room, or you'll end up like him. Inside the locked room, Emily is terrified, struggling with low oxygen levels. Her bodyguard Hawk notices this but remains calm, trusting that no one can enter the room. Snow, now in a chamber above, continues moving closer to Emily. He reaches the engine area, where power is being generated. But Snow has no idea that a criminal is secretly tailing him. Snow now reaches the area where artificial gravity is generated. As soon as he starts exploring a bit, the criminal sneaks up from behind and starts pushing him. Snow somehow manages to reach near a gate, but the criminal is still clinging to his leg. All of this is being monitored by Heidel via CCTV cameras. Heidel doesn't want his ally to die, so just as Snow pushes the criminal down, Heidel shuts off the entire gravity system. This deactivates the artificial gravity generator, and Snow, who is hanging by a rope, starts to fall as the rope begins to tear. But just in time, an employee working for Lang reactivates the system, and Snow is pulled back up and saved. Meanwhile, in the security room, Hawk realizes that someone is trying to open the door. Obviously, the criminal's trying to get in. Oxygen levels inside are dropping dangerously. If it continues, Emily could die. So, Hawk makes a tough decision. He shoots himself, ensuring more oxygen remains for Emily to survive. Snow is still being guided by Harry, Lang, and the team from Earth. He follows their instructions and finally reaches the chamber where Emily lies unconscious. Using the training he'd been given, Snow tends to her wounds, doing his best to revive her. When Emily wakes up, she pushes Snow away, thinking he's a criminal. But Snow quickly explains the truth, that he was sent by her father to rescue her. Eventually, Emily believes him and they both head toward the upper level as per the mission plan. Meanwhile, Earth Command confirms. The entire station is going to crash into Earth's orbit in just a few hours. The only option, destroy the station in space. Snow grabs Emily and rushes to the escape pod bay. He puts her into one of the pods, and it launches toward Earth. But then he sees Emily isn't in it. She refused to leave. She doesn't want to survive alone while the other hostages are left to die. She knows if she stays, the military won't destroy the station. Suddenly, they receive a chilling message from Heidel. Unless Emily surrenders, He'll kill one hostage every second. To prove it, he executes one in front of them. Soon, Alex and the others arrive and capture Snow. He tries to escape but is shot and falls down into a lower level. Emily is taken captive. In the chamber, Alex begins arguing with Heidel for being out of control. But things spiral. Heidel kills his own brother and approaches Emily to harm her. Just then, Snow returns, kills Heidel, and escapes with Emily. By now, the military fleet has surrounded the prison. A final battle begins as warships fire and destroy MS-1 in orbit. Snow and Emily, wearing advanced suits, launch themselves into space and safely land on Earth. Emily is rescued, but Snow is immediately taken into custody. Days pass. But Emily is still puzzled about the briefcase Snow kept mentioning. She decodes Mace's old ramblings and discovers the location. She retrieves the case and brings it to the president, her father. Snow is brought in to open the briefcase, but it's completely empty. The truth is revealed. High-level officers were working with the underworld. They wanted the contents of the briefcase to cover up the truth. But Snow had outsmarted them. The lighter he carried, the one given by the colonel, held the real secret, a hidden SD card. He exposes the corrupt officers and gets them arrested. As a reward, Snow is granted his freedom. In the end, Emily punches him for not telling the full truth. But it's all in good fun. The two are now great friends. And with that, our story comes to an end.